Now, to be honest, if you was paying attention, you could see it coming. Y'all seen the header, you know why you're here. Let's dive into it. Hey guys, welcome to Rolling with T-Bone. If you're new here, welcome in. We invite you to check out this video and check out some of our others. If you like what you see, maybe consider subscribing to our channel. If you're old here, welcome back. You know what's going on as we dive into tonight's episode. I hope y'all enjoy. Alright guys, welcome in on a Saturday episode. On a beautiful, kind of coming to the end of Dogwood spring day here, Dogwood winter. About 65 degrees. I probably shouldn't be out here in short sleeves, but it feels alright. So, according to the news, those of you who've been keeping up with it, the Harley-Davidson CEO has decided that it is time for him to retire. So T-Bone, why are you making a video about it? Well, last week I did a live, last Saturday I went live, and I actually ended up on the topic of the CEO and Harley-Davidson. And Georgia Hillbilly messaged me a couple of days later, and he said, you called it, man. He said, Harley CEO is retiring. He said, you called it in your live. I didn't have no forewarning, no previous knowledge of what was going on, so I didn't know. Nobody knew until it was announced. But if you were paying attention to what was going on with Harley-Davidson, you could see the writing on the wall. And the writing didn't look good for the CEO of Harley-Davidson. Zeist, whatever his name is. I think his last name is Zeist, Johan, or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, man, it didn't come as a shock. Well, the only thing that really shocked me is it took it as long as it did. I was kind of looking forward maybe November, December of last year, or at the latest January of this year. But you know, it took it to April. But you know, you could kind of see that it was going to happen, and I wasn't really shocked to see it happen. Because Harley-Davidson, guys, and let's talk just a little bit about the history of Harley-Davidson, because I've studied the history of Harley-Davidson quite a bit. I've got books on it. I've got a bunch of history books on Harley-Davidson, and I've read a lot about Harley-Davidson. Of course, you know, there's been a lot of documentaries done about Harley-Davidson's history, but Harley-Davidson, from the very early stages of the company, meaning when Bill Harley and Arthur Davidson and you know, they all got together and they made their first motorcycle, Harley-Davidson understood what their image was going to be. They were building motorcycles for the everyday man, and you know, they kind of understood that. And then as time went on, Harley-Davidson had to dig itself up, you know, out of the ditches and pick themselves up by the bootstraps more than one time. Of course, in modern history, the most infamous time was with the AMF buyout in the 70s, when AMF had to come in and save them. But let's talk about that just a little bit, about how Harley-Davidson, because I'll say this, Harley-Davidson has the knowledge. They have the tools, they have the history, they know how to save themselves, but they just got to hope it's not too late. Now, Harley-Davidson got hit pretty hard back in the beginning, in the early 1900s, you know, several times. One of the big hits they took was a patent issue where William Harley had made a part to go inside the engine, and he forgot to patent it. Well, Indian CEO bought several Harley-Davidson motorcycles, tore them apart, and found the part in the engine that wasn't patented. Then they patented it, and then they sued Harley-Davidson, and that nearly took Harley-Davidson out. And then another time was a malicious time, when one of what might be the most slimiest moves ever performed in American business, or at least up till that point. I won't say complete history, but at least up till that point was when Edsel Ford commissioned Harley-Davidson to build several service cars. The company, the motor company, Harley-Davidson, had to finance the build. They had to leverage their property and their mortgages. And Edsel Ford commissioned, and you'll never make me believe no different, Edsel Ford commissioned those service cars knowing that he was never going to buy them, knowing that he was never going to pay for them. Edsel Ford had a very public hatred for motorcycles because he felt like it cut into Ford's profits. People weren't buying cars. Motorcycles were cheaper to operate. They were more fun to own. So Edsel Ford commissioned the building of those service cars simply to put Harley-Davidson out of business. I'll always believe that. But you know, those service cars came back, and they helped the company to regain their footing. And you know, they pressed on. And then one of the biggest changes for Harley-Davidson came when it kind of came as an end of an era. It would be Bill Harley's last design, and that would be the Knucklehead engine. The first engine that Harley had built that could reach 125 miles per hour, which for a short time made it the fastest motorcycle built. And Bill Harley kind of hung his hat on that one, and he retired. And the Knucklehead stayed in production for a lot of years, and then the Panhead came along and it stayed into production for a lot of years. And then the Shovelhead era would be the next time Harley-Davidson would find themselves in a little bit of trouble. Now, they would find themselves in trouble in this sense because this was the 70s. Culture was changing. The motorcycle culture was changing. And a lot of new motorcycles weren't being sold. So, you know, a lot of companies were feeling the hit, and Harley-Davidson was no exception. And then along came a bowling pin manufacturing company called AMF, and they bought into Harley-Davidson, and they started funding motorcycles and other projects such as golf carts and stuff like that. And you know, it's according to who you talk to as to whether the AMF era was important or not, but I will counter argue this, and I've mentioned this before in past videos. Had it not been for AMF in the 70s, there might not have been no Harley-Davidson by the 80s. That's how close the company was to going under. AMF came in at the 11th hour, funded them, got them back up on their feet, helped them start producing motorcycles. And, you know, was the AMF Harley-Davidson a superior motorcycle? No, but it filled a need. It got people refocused again on Harley-Davidson. You know, the AMF Shovelhead models, there's people out there who collect those. And I've got a friend that lives in Blairsville, and he has a 79 AMF Super Glide Shovelhead, and that's all he rides. He loves that bike. No matter how much money he has to dump into it, that's his baby. It was his brother's bike. His brother passed away and left it to him, and he just rides it miles. Love you, brother. But you know, the AMF era of Harley-Davidson is such a divisive topic because you have those old school guys that absolutely hated AMF. But like I said, you know, just kind of stop and think, had AMF not inserted themselves into the situation, we might not be riding 80s, 90s, 2000s models Harley-Davidsons today. So we kind of have to stop and give AMF their props. But again, Harley-Davidson was able to dig themselves up out of the trenches. They were listening to Willie G. Davidson. And Willie was introducing new models such as the 1980 Wide Glide, chopper, basically a factory chopper. And they got a good direction going on them. And then one of the biggest things to really get them back up on top of the world was they introduced the Evolution engine. And we've talked about the divide that the Evolution engine caused. There, you know, those old gatekeepers, the old the old panhead and shovelhead gatekeepers just hated the Evo motors, man. They hated motorcycles with Evo engines. They hated motorcycles that weren't foot clutch jockey shift. They hated motorcycles that weren't your shovelheads, basically, or panheads. But the Evo, to me, and now again, this is my generation that we're talking about, 80s and 90s, Gen X. To me, the Evolution motor, and a lot of people agree with me, the Evo motor is bulletproof if it's taken care of. And then, of course, after Harley-Davidson got the cam tensioner situations straightened out on the twin cam engine, the twin cam's just as good. The pattern that I'm trying to highlight here is a very singular pattern. And the pattern that I'm trying to highlight here with all of this is that Harley-Davidson absolutely has the DNA to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and save themselves. Harley-Davidson has the power right now to save themselves. Now, the problem with the latest problems, the way I see it. Now, guys, again, this is just my opinion. I'm nobody. I'm not a corporate guy. I don't know nothing about big corporate business. I'm just a old backwoods country boy who loves to ride his motorcycle. But I know what I like. Now, the problems, the way I understand it, began in about 2020. And of course, 2020, when the sweet and sour sniffles hit, that upended everything. But what you got from that was a new plan that the Harley CEO rolled out. Was New Roads to Harley or something like that, where he wanted to introduce brand new models, and he had a certain amount of brand new models that he was going to introduce, and he really leaned into the Livewire, which by all accounts is a failure. He leaned into the Revolution Max engine. He leaned into the water-cooled 1200 Sportster R, Sportster S. That's kind of when I thought things might be wrong, guys. And I mentioned this in an old video. I'm not even sure which one it is. But I had made a video. Of course, I had talked about the air-cooled, the end of the air-cooled Sportster engine, the 1200 and the 883. The Evolution engine, which didn't change from the time it was introduced in the late 80s up till they stopped producing it. It was either in 22 or 23. But I made a video about it, and the Sportster from 1957 till now, I mean, it still hasn't gone out, because you still have a bike that Harley produces, the Sportster S, that still carries the Sportster name. But now the argument can be made that it's not the same Sportster. But what you got from this was a motorcycle that was too expensive to be an entry model motorcycle. Meaning, since the inception of the Sportster in 1957, the Sportster has always been an entry-level motorcycle. You start out on a Sportster, and then you graduate to, insert your favorite bike here, whether it be Dyna, Softail, Bagger, whatever. And that's really what came back and bit Harley in the butt and hurt them, was they got rid of the Sportster, air-cooled Sportster, which, and one of the problems is, guys, is that the CEO didn't understand Harley-Davidson. Now, he might have been able to go into another motorcycle manufacturer and become the CEO and have great success. But he started killing off entry-level motorcycles, meaning Dynas, Sportsters, all the bikes that made people take a look in Harley's direction. He essentially killed them off. So I think that's where the ball kind of started falling. And then, you know, this, man, I don't want to hang a lot of this on the DEI stuff, but at the end of the day, we kind of have to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is the DEI stuff. You know, Harley Davidson's CEO didn't understand Harley Davidson's customers. You know, we don't care about corporate grandstanding. You know, we don't care about political correctness. We don't care about all that stuff. Harley Davidson was the company that always built itself on being the renegade, finding new roads, conforming to no one. And then all of a sudden you have a CEO who's speaking for the entire culture, changing everything and doing a 180 and sending it in the other direction. And all of a sudden, that's when the old guard got pissed off. And man, they're ripping the badges off, they're blowing up the motorcycles, and Harley Davidson's board of directors seen every bit of this, guys, trust me. And since 2020, if you have made any kind of video and you have tagged, and if you go look at the tags on my videos, I have tagged Harley Davidson in every video I've ever put out. I've hashtagged Harley Davidson. If since 2020, really since 2021, I'll say, if you hashtagged Harley Davidson on a video and you were complaining, somebody in that board of directors saw it. Because Harley Davidson has a PR team that watches everything going on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. They watch it. They are watching everything that you and I are saying. They're watching everything that you and I are doing. And these folks seen firsthand that Harley's core customers, the people that at the end of the day don't give a dang what the new Indian looks like, they don't give a dang what the new Goldwing looks like, they are loyal Harley Davidson customers. They will only ride Harley Davidson. They will only buy Harley Davidson. They seen, the people in the PR department seen that those people were pissed. That's what really started the CEO's downfall. Because as I said before, Harley Davidson knows they know what sells to their audience. They know what sells to their customers. It is 1000% their public image. When you buy a Harley Davidson, whether it be a Road King, a Dyna, a Softail, a Fat Boy, whatever model you buy, you are buying an image when you buy that Harley Davidson. And the Pan America wasn't feeling that image, and the Pan America wasn't feeling that image, the Sportster S wasn't feeling that image, and the Livewire just fell flat on its face. Underperformed, overpriced, there was a lot of problems. But Harley Davidson's PR department saw that, because like I said, they have people in their PR department who watches social media like hawks. That is their job every day, is to find the Harley Davidson hashtags and find out what people are really saying. And then Harley got hit where it really hurt them. Man, the sales went, Harley's sales went down in 23 and 24. Bad. The DEI thing was the final nail in the coffin for the CEO. And I kind of called that a while back, not just last Saturday, but I had called that out before. Kind of where my thoughts were on that. And basically what I had said was kind of what actually happened. You know, Harley was not going to fire this guy and make a big public scene. They weren't going to blow it out of proportion. They waited until the storm had calmed down a little bit, And then they took this guy into the boardroom and they said, we're going to give you some stock options, we're going to give you some money, and you can either retire or we will just quietly remove you from the company. If you retire right now, you can hang your hat on a couple of things that went good, but you're out of here. And that's exactly what happened. I promise you guys, it was not his ideal to retire. That was absolutely not his ideal. That was the Harley-Davidson Board of Directors' ideal. And when the Board of Directors, you know, and people say, well, the CEO's got power, or a chairman's got power, or a COO, Chief Operating Officer, they got power. That's true. But the Board of Directors runs the company. If you're in a Fortune 500 company, that company is not ran by the chairman of the board. It's not ran by the CEO. It is ran by the Board of Directors. They make the calls for that company. So they make the call, and you know, they let the man retire and let him keep some dignity. That's, you know, that was probably the best that Harley was going to do for him. But with everything that Harley-Davidson has been through in the past, with Edsel Ford screwing them over on the Survey car, to World War I, World War II, to, you know, AMF, to this, Harley-Davidson has it interwoven into their DNA to save themselves. So, T-Bone, you're running your mouth a lot. What can Harley do to save themselves? Well, that's not a real simple answer, because if you're not involved in Harley-Davidson, you might not understand the damage that has been done. Meaning, if you've never owned a Harley-Davidson and you've only ever ridden, you know, Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha, KTM, and you've never actually ridden a Harley-Davidson, the damage is bad. And it's the public image that got damaged, and it's the core of the core. The people who have the Harley-Davidson tattoos, that have the Harley-Davidson patches all over their clothes, that were never ridden anything but a Harley-Davidson. They bought a Sportster when they were young, and they stayed with the brand sometimes decades, 30, 40, 50 years. Guys, and that's crazy to think. I'm 47 years old. I'll be 48 in August. I've been on a motorcycle ever since I'm 8 years old. So, I could say 40 years, but I'll just be gracious and I'll say the last 35 years. The last 3.5 decades, I've been on a motorcycle. So when you put in that kind of time and that kind of loyalty to a brand, and then something like this happens, it does a lot of damage. So then, like I said, T-Bone, you're running your mouth. What can Harley-Davidson do? On a corporate level, I can't tell you because I'm not a corporate. But as a Harley-Davidson enthusiast, as someone who loves this brand, what Harley-Davidson needs to do is several things. The first thing Harley-Davidson needs to do is to not come out with some kind of bullshit apology. The damage is done. We don't need you to apologize. You gave the CEO a lot of rope and he nearly hung your whole company with it. So we don't need a BS apology. We don't need empty promises. What we need from Harley-Davidson, and I'm just talking as a fan, is we need Harley-Davidson to bring back their entry-level motorcycles. I think if I was, and I'm going to make a prediction here, and y'all can pay attention to it and watch if you want to. I predict that sometime in 26, maybe 27, Harley-Davidson will come back with a special edition air-cooled Sportster, kind of like the 48 or the 72. And they will introduce it in the next couple of years, and then they will just integrate either, they may just start out by integrating the 1200 air-cooled back into the lineup. I don't know if they'll do the 1200 and 883. It'll be according to how it'll be according to what the demand is. But I think they will make a specialty 1200 edition Sportster that will reintroduce the Sportster line back into the fold, and then I think they'll just quietly start producing them again every year. And I think they will say, hey, you know, we tried something different, because the way I've looked at this, guys, and like I said, I'm not a pro, but from the way I'm seeing this, the way this thing has went, the Sportster S is kind of going the way of the V-Rod. It's not really doing what they thought it was going to do. But I think that's one thing that you'll see happen. I think you'll absolutely see the air-cooled Sportster come back. Like I said, I don't think it'll take long for that to happen. And then I think you'll see other entry-level motorcycles. I think you'll see maybe the Softail Slim return. And I think at some point, it may not be immediate, but I think at some point you'll see some form of Dyna return to the lineup. And probably, if I was going to hang my hat on what I think Dyna would be, I would venture outside and say probably they're going to bring back the Wide Glide. And again, it'll probably be like with the Sportster. They will introduce a specialty model, and then they would just quietly put it back into production, and it'll be around. I think that's two things that they could do to make amends with their core audience, but the second thing may be the most important thing that they can do. When you can go buy an Indian Scout for 10 grand, when you can go buy a entry-level Honda for 9 grand, they have got to lower the price of the Sportster and their entry-level bikes. Guys, you can't be charging $13,000 and $15,000 for a Sportster, or for a Softail Slim, or for a Super Glide. You have got, or a Fat Bob, or whatever bike that's entry-level cruiser. You've got to lower that price back down, because the price of the Sportster is one of the biggest selling points. And the Revolution Max Sportster, the 1200R is already, you know, the Sportster S is failing. The water-cooled Sportster S is not performing good. People aren't digging them. The old guard isn't digging them. So you've got to make adjustments for that. So you know, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, yeah, but T-Bone, with the price of inflation, everything went up across the board, and it did. But guys, don't try to make your killing on the entry-level motorcycles. If you get the right people involved in the entry level with the Sportsters, with the Slims, with the you know, the little specialty bikes that you put out each year, eventually they're going to look at the more expensive Road Glide, the more expensive Street Glide, the more expensive Heritage Softail. They're going to look at those more expensive bikes, or the more expensive Road King. But for, you know, entry-level motorcycle riders has always been Harley-Davidson's forte. I mean, I know a lot of y'all are going to cringe to hear me say that, and you don't want to admit it, but Harley-Davidson has always had a good rapport with the entry-level riders. And that's because of the Sportster, and that's because the Sportster wasn't so overpriced you couldn't afford it. That's just facts, guys. History stands behind that statement. And then the third thing I think Harley-Davidson's going to have to do is they're going to have to put a CEO in. And I know a lot of people have been floating Bill Davidson's name, which is the grandson. He is the grandson of, I can't remember which Davidson, but he has the direct Davidson name. He has the direct lineage to the company. A lot of people have been floating him around as being their CEO. Whether it's him or whether it's somebody else, you got to make sure that whoever you put in as your CEO understands your customers, understands what it is they're selling right here. They're not just selling a motorcycle, guys. And I know we all want to just look at a motorcycle and say, yeah, it's just a motorcycle, but it's not. You're selling an image when you buy this Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson is selling you an image, and you are buying an image. And you can say what you want, you can argue with me till the sun goes down, but you're not going to feel like as big a badass on a Honda 750 Shadow as you are a cool 1200 Sportster with some screaming eagle pipes, a nice looking set of mini apes, great rumble when you crank on the throttle, maybe putting a Mikuni side slide on it. You're not going to feel like as big a badass on a 750 Honda Shadow as you are when you get on that 1200 Sportster. And guys, that's just facts. You know, it's almost kind of one of those things that it's going to be interesting over the next 6 months to a year to see what Harley-Davidson does. Like I said, Harley-Davidson doesn't need to come out with a BS apology. The damage has been done. People don't want words. Actions speak louder than words. And people are now going to be looking at the actions. People are going to be paying attention to what Harley-Davidson does next. So what's the next move for Harley? I hope it's all those things that I just talked about, because I really think that'll go a long way in helping Harley-Davidson. But those entry-level prices, guys, those are going to be the killer. Those are going to be what makes or break the company. I mean, don't come up with no more bullshit electric motorcycles, Harley-Davidson. You're not an electric motorcycle company. Cut your losses with the live wire, dump that stock somewhere else, and get back to what you know. Alright guys, well, there is my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. You know, I hope Harley, and like I said, man, Harley-Davidson's got it woven into their DNA. They know how to fix all this. They know how to fix every bit of this. You know, build the motorcycles people want. Go back to listening to your audience. Go back to listening to your riders. And you might just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Oh, but man, yeah, guys, I wasn't actually going to put a video out today, which we're watching this, it's Saturday, and, you know, I'll break the fourth wall. It's not Saturday for me, but it is for y'all. I'm actually, if everything's went well, I'm doing a very special video today. I'm doing some recording. But, yeah, I was just going to, and I know if I do, if everything goes well, it's going to be a long day. And I wouldn't be feeling like going live on Saturday. But yeah, so Monday's video, brown chicken, I hope you're ready, brother. The Hodag is coming. That will be Monday's scripted episode, will be the Hodag. Guys, thank y'all for making these videos mean something for me. And what do I mean by that? You know, I don't care if they don't get about 80 or 100 views. You know, that's 80 or 100 folks that think I'm a pretty cool dude, and they like hanging out with me, and they like what I talk about, even if I don't have a clue what I'm talking about sometimes. You know, and if you just found the channel and this is the first video you see, welcome in, guys. You know, please take some time, go back and watch some of my other videos. Make sure that I'm right for you, and if you think I am, then subscribe to the channel if you want to. Don't cost you anything. Don't, you know, and I'm not making no money off this channel. I'm not monetized. I'm not getting a little paycheck every month. That's not what I'm in it for. But you know, the cryptid content has become very important to me on Rolling with T-Bone here. And then doing videos like this are important too, just regular videos and other stuff. But you know, one thing I do try to stay away from, guys, I'm just not big into the conspiracy theory stuff. You're not going to find a lot of conspiracy theory on Rolling with T-Bone, because I'm not interested in conspiracy theories. Because at the end of the day, what happens with conspiracy theories is you end up with hard feelings. And, you know, even when I give you the cryptid stuff, I try not to get into the conspiracy theory. I just give you the facts, the way it's been reported, the way I'm studying it, the way I have researched it. I just give you the facts that I have found. And I've always said, I'm not trying to make you believe anything or not believe anything. I'm just presenting the facts so that you can decide for yourself. And I think that's kind of what a good content creator is about. He's not trying to push his beliefs on you, and I'm certainly not. But I appreciate you guys, I really do. So if y'all made it this far, y'all are the real ones. I know who you are. But yeah, man, Brown Chicken Monday, the whole dag is coming, and then next Monday's video should be a very special video if all things go good. But guys, until the next time, I'm gonna say we've got us a little video here talking about Harley Davidson. Can they make it? Can they save themselves? You know, the short future will tell. But guys, until the next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and hey, thanks for watching. Talk to them, guys.